Okay, hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Gabby and today we are going to be doing the AuthorTube newbie tag. So this is sort of a combination video because it is the AuthorTube newbie tag, like 2.0 tag, as well as like me saying that I'm going to be doing Camp NaNoWriMo, which I did this I think not last year but the year before. And that didn't entirely go as planned, but I've kind of lowered my expectations since that last year, so hopefully this will be better. So I'm going to talk about Camp NaNoWriMo first, and then I'll get into the AuthorTube newbie tag. So for Camp NaNoWriMo, I am going to set the goal for 30,000 words. Now, the last time I did this, I ended up doing, like, setting it as 50,000 words as opposed to 30,000 words. I think the 30,000 words is going to be a lot easier to get, especially because I am going to be having summer classes, so it's not just going to be me doing nothing. I also have a trip next month that you guys will be getting vlogs for, but I have trips and things, and 30,000 words is going to be much more manageable. Now, even with 30,000 words, I don't think that that is going to finish my novel, but it will get the ball rolling a little bit more. So currently I have 74,000 words in my novel. 30,000 words would make it 100, obviously 100,000 words, but that's not going to finish my novel because I'm only on chapter 18 of the 42 that I have planned, and if you just double 70, that'll be 140. So obviously not going to finish the novel. However, it is going to get the ball rolling a little bit more, and it's going to push my novel forward. I do need to keep working on it because I have the habit of working on it for a little while and then getting not bored, but sometimes a little bit bored and sometimes just stuck, and then I don't want to go back to it, or I just prioritize other things. And I do really need to prioritize my writing because hopefully that will make me a living one day, and that is important. So that is kind of the situation with that. I have started a TikTok, and I'm going to be doing daily updates on my TikTok of my word count for the day, you know, favorites, like lines of the day, you know, if I struggled, if I didn't, that will all be on TikTok. That's that for the kind of spiel about Camp Nano. That's what I'm planning on doing. Hopefully I can get 30,000 words and yeah, continue writing my novel. So yes, so without further ado, let's just get into the AuthorTube newbie tag side of this. I have talked about this work in progress. If you go back, I will link it up above and down below, but it is my I'm writing a novel video. I'm not entirely proud of that one, but it does kind of explain a little bit, but I'm still going to do the tag because I kind of want to, you know, get into the community and, you know, talking about AuthorTube and having parts of my channel be dedicated to writing and stuff like that. Okay, so I have the questions on my phone. There are 14 questions, although I think technically there's 13 because one of them is if you've already had a booktube or an AuthorTube, but I haven't really had an AuthorTube, so yeah, that's that. So first question is, what's your book's pitch? If you have multiple works, choose your favorite one. So I do have multiple works, but I've only ever worked, like, written out one of them, and that is Project Storm. That is what I call it. And I would pitch this as witches in the real world going to school with humans. Yeah. And the humans know about the supernatural world. That would be my, like, compassing it. That's like this very generic thing, and yeah, that's it. So yes, that's all I'm gonna say. So the second question is, if you were a book, how would you pitch yourself? I would say an adventure story of a girl in college who loves reading, writing, and watching TV and things. Intrigued yet? Oh, this is gonna be cringy. So yeah, that would be me. I mean, I don't hate questions to do this, but I just hate trying to describe myself because it's like one of the hardest things to do. So anyway, question number 3 is, what do you usually write? I usually write fantasy, young adult fantasy. Project Storm is a YA fantasy at the moment. It may turn into a new adult fantasy, but I'm thinking it's gonna stay YA at the moment. So yeah, that's kind of where I like to keep my comfort zone. I have noticed that lately I've been wanting to write contemporary or like at least romance, and have been getting ideas for a romance novel, but I have no idea if that's ever gonna actually get written. It's gonna get put in my script as an idea, or not script, in my Scrivener as an idea, and we shall see if it ever gets written one day. But I don't know, that's kind of what, yeah. So then conversely with that, question number 4 is something that you will never write. And I will never write horror. I don't like horror movies. I don't like horror books. I just don't like them. They freak me out. I get very scared very easily with that stuff. I don't like it. Sorry. But it's really funny, and I think I've said this before, but it's really funny to me because I hate horror movies, but like things that are supernatural, like ghosts, depends on how the ghosts are, but like, you know, werewolves and vampires and fairies and goblins and all this stuff, love. But I hate horror, and it's really interesting when I'm scrolling through something and there's like a movie or a show that I really love, that I love watching, and it's categorized under horror because I don't like horror. I guess it really just kind of depends on what you classify horror as. So, yes. That was a really long answer to a very simple question, but that is my answer. Okay, number 5. What's your goal to starting an AuthorTube channel? So this is a combination of a BookTube channel and an AuthorTube channel, and maybe a journaling channel, sort of. There's just a lot of things in here because they're all my hobbies, and I like to write, and I am writing a novel, so I figured I would take people along on my journey. Granted, I don't know how many people are actually going to be watching this. I could literally be talking to no one. If you are here, hello, and thank you for joining me. But I don't know who I'm going to be talking to. My real goal in this is to document my writing journey. I think it's really interesting, and if one day I ever become some sort of author who has a little bit of fame, or like is a little bit known, that'll be great. And if somebody asks, you know, either advice or where I got started or stuff like that, I can direct them here and say, I actually have videos on it, and stuff like that. So that's kind of where I am going, and I think through video and through trial and error, I can, you know, other people can be taught and other people can learn something from my videos, but I do think that it is trial and error. So the first probably 100 videos that I do are not going to be these great fantastic tip videos or what to do this and how you should write this, because 1, there's no one way to write, and 2, I am getting into writing now. Like, I am still learning, and I think even every author who is even published is still learning how to write and what works for them. So yeah, that's kind of my answer for the question. It kind of went a little astray, but honestly that's kind of how my writing works. I will be writing one thing, and then all of a sudden there are 3 new characters, and I'm writing one scene that I've planned out, all completely done, and then all of a sudden 3 new characters enter, and they have a converging storyline that goes off this way, and now I need to bring them all together or delete them, and it's very hard for me to delete characters because they're like a part of my soul. So yeah, that's that, and we're gonna move on from that question. Okay, so number 6 is also probably gonna be a little bit lengthy, and it is what made you want to start writing? So I feel like for a lot of people, the answer to this question is that they've always loved writing. That when they were kids, they used to write little stories, and then, you know, as they got older, they started writing, you know, maybe fan fiction, or they started writing their own stories, and just now it's becoming a thing that they really love to do and they want to move forward as a career. Well, that was not me. I honestly, when I was younger, up until about 5th grade, I did not like reading. I thought it was the most boring thing in the world. I thought that my parents were horrible people because they were trying to make me read and sit down and read. I'm like, I am bored. I don't care. I don't want to do this. No, you couldn't get me to read. And then in 4th to 5th grade, I had a teacher who really got me into reading. She absolutely loved to read, and she would always read to us, and I finally started getting stories that I actually really enjoyed. And 5th grade, you know, kind of I was starting to pick stories on my own that I wanted to read. 6th grade, I think, is really where it kind of took off. I ended up getting a Nook, and the ability to just buy books when I wanted to, maybe not when I wanted to, I had to ask my parents, but to have it at my fingertips was so amazing, and that is kind of what really started my reading journey. However, writing did not come to me until a couple of years ago. I'm currently 20, I'm a junior in college, and in my junior year of high school, like the very end of it, I started getting ideas for a book and started getting ideas of, hey, maybe I can write a book and can make a living off of this and, you know, create stories, because for the longest time I just didn't think that I had the capacity to write, didn't think that I would be able to come up with ideas, characters, anything like that. And I think once I kind of realized that no one story is completely original. You can have a really cool idea and stuff, but it is always going to have been done before, and it is really just your spin on it. And I think that's true for a lot of things. And once I kind of realized that, I started tinkering with things and was like, well, what if this and this happened and this was kind of my spin on it? And I started realizing that, like I said, I can write a book, and started doing it. So I started planning my Project Storm shortly thereafter, probably around March or so of 2016? No, 2018-ish. And then when NaNoWriMo first came around, like the 2018 NaNoWriMo, no, 2019 NaNoWriMo came around, I sat down the month before and around, no, actually it was a couple months before, it was like the very beginning of September, and I started making character charts, and I started making story charts, and this huge world of characters and magic and witches popped into my head, and I have absolutely loved being in it. And, you know, I'm always worried that I'm like gonna have this one story and I'm never gonna be able to write anything, and it amazes me how I have been able to come up with more ideas in like completely different genres and completely different stories, and be able to sort of make a semblance of an idea for it. Granted, I haven't started writing any of them, nor have I really made any characters, because I've really been wanting to focus on my witchy, like, work in progress Project Storm, but the fact that I'm able to come up with these ideas and come up with certain like scenarios, I'm really happy about, because it means that I can write. And yeah, so I didn't really start off writing as a child. It came when I was older, and now it's something that I really like. And I think and also another thing is that I don't think I'm the best writer in any stretch of the imagination, but I do think that in writing and continuing to write, there are lines where I'm like, oh, I wrote that, and things like that. So, and I think that even like published and seasoned authors do the same thing, where sometimes they don't think that their writing is good. So that was a really long answer to that question, but it kind of encompassed what my journey of starting to write is. So yeah, that's my answer to that question. So question number 7 is, what's your publishing path? Honestly, I'm not entirely sure. I always, like, when I first started getting into writing, I always thought that, like, being traditionally published meant that you had made it in the business, and, like, being able to be traditionally published meant that you had made it in the business. And over the last, like, 2 years-ish, I've been seeing more and more indie authors, and I've seen more and more stories about how, and this is, it's not the money, but at the same time, like, if I want to make a living out of writing, I do need to make a certain amount of money, because living is expensive. And, you know, I've seen that some people make a lot more money when they're independently published, but there's also a lot of more work to go into it. So it's a bit of a balancing act, and I think that I don't know, I think that there for my stories, there is a audience in both being traditionally published and independently published. So I'm not really sure what kind of route that I really want to go. I think what I'm going to do is once I have finished Witchy Work in Progress, and this is going to be like 4 or 5 drafts of editing and stuff like that, and then querying, getting a literary agent and all of that, I do want to try and do and publish it traditionally. But if that doesn't work out, and my aunt, she's so sweet, she has definitely like been, I don't know, I've talked to her about it, and she's definitely pushed this, said that if I don't get traditionally published or nobody picks up the story, to definitely get it independently published. And I definitely agree with that, because I think there's some stories that people don't think are going to be popular or aren't like in the season at the moment, but when they get published independently, they can get a lot of traction. And yes, that was really long too, but that is my answer to that. So question number 8 is, what content do you bring to the AuthorTube table? I feel like I've kind of answered this question, but I am planning on mostly doing writing vlogs and things like that, just because that's kind of where I'm comfortable, or having like 24-hour writing things where I like write a whole bunch, or like writing 10,000 words in a day, which I've never been able to do. The highest I've been able to do, I think, is 5,000 words in a day, which is a lot of words. But that kind of material is kind of what I want to do. I don't really have writing tips, and maybe one day when I like get better at writing and become more confident in it, maybe I will be able to give some tips, but at the moment that's not really where I'm going with that. So number 9 is, what's your biggest writing struggle? My biggest writing struggle is just continuing writing. I get very frustrated and very nitpicky with the details, and it honestly hinders my ability to write, because I want everything to be planned out. And I do have an outline for my novel at the moment. Like I said, it's a 42 chapter outline. I have everything that's going to happen in the book. And it's the strangest thing, because in my outline, I know what needs to happen next, and I know what needs to happen in order to get character A from point A to point B. But when I'm sitting and writing it, it never happens. Like, I will be sitting there and I'm like, I have no idea what to write. And it's like, it's not that I don't know what I'm supposed to be writing, it's that I don't know how to write it. And I think that I just need to push through sometimes and just start kind of very basically going step by step, what happens, what the character's feeling and things like that. And then when I go back, going back and filling it in to, fluff it up and brighten it up, make it a story. And I think that's where I'm kind of lacking at the moment. And this is why it's been 2 years and I still have not even finished my first draft of the novel, because I am constantly second guessing myself and constantly not being able to move forward. So that is definitely my biggest struggle with writing, and it's very annoying. The next question, however, is, what's your best writing skill? I feel like this is probably gonna sound a little bit narcissistic, but I feel like I'm really strong in making characters. I had a creative writing class last semester, and in the class I submitted my first chapter of my novel, and one of the biggest feedback appreciations was that they loved my characters and that they felt real to them, and that they really were interested in the dynamics between the characters and their relationships. And I'm really happy that that comes across really well, because I do really love my characters and I spent so much time meticulously creating characters. So I think that I create characters very well. I just don't think that I successfully, and at least in my head, weave a story together. So yes. Now the next 2 questions, you're supposed to pick between 11 and 12. And I think 12, I guess, is what is going to be my question. So it's, if you're new to AuthorTube, what is your biggest AuthorTube question? And I think my question is, how do you get the motivation and the energy to continue writing when there are so many other stories that come out and everybody loves and are, even infinitesimally, remotely similar to yours? How do you continue when you start feeling imposter syndrome and you start feeling like you're just copying and not being an original author, because I feel like since I have started writing my novel, and there are two-ish books that have come out that are a little bit similar to my novel, and granted they're not the exact same, but like, how do you deal with the fact that there are going to be novels that are similar to yours, and you know, you don't want to get compared. Like, the one thing that, and I am guilty of this too, is so many books get compared to A Court of Thorns and Roses. You know, in like the slightest little things, if something is like very sort of similar, they're like, oh, this is what happened in A Court of Thorns and Roses. And it terrifies me that one day I'm going to publish my story and someone's going to be like, oh, you just copied this one. And yeah, I don't know. My question is more of like, how do you kind of push past that and still say, no, I have an original story, I'm going to continue writing, and my story needs to be out there. Because it can be very hard, and I'm genuinely interested in how other people would be able to do that. So question number 13, a lot of talking. Question number 13 is, are you looking for any new channels to follow, betas, CPs, or other types of writer buddies? If so, writer buddies. If so, tell us who you're looking for to connect them and connect with them in the comments. So I am at the moment looking for kind of writer friends, because I feel like having writer friends will definitely, you know, keep me going and make it so that, like, well, even when I'm down in the dumps and don't feel very confident, I can continue and have someone be like, it's okay, or just have someone tell me this is shit, like straight up, and be able to give me that kind of advice. Because I think, you know, going to my parents or my family, them reading it, I feel like they're always going to tell me that it's good. And I also think that having like friends that have things that are in common with you is really important. So yeah. Then the last question is question number 14, and it is, what are you most excited for during this new fresh start on AuthorTube? I think I'm most excited for, I'm really excited for the community, because I've been following AuthorTube for a couple of years now, and I really love the sense of community that they have, and yeah, the things that like AuthorTube comes together to do. So I'm really excited about that, but I'm also really excited to, like I said before, document my writing journey, because that is bottom line why I am doing this. I really like seeing like not authors, she will be an author, but channels like Kate Kavanaugh and Abby Emmons, and those channels, I love the fact that they show the process of them writing and have documented proof and like videos of them struggling and succeeding and just overall being writers. So yeah, that's the biggest kind of thing that I'm looking forward to. But yeah, so that is the AuthorTube newbie tag. If you like this video, go ahead and give me a thumbs up. If you like this video and you want more from me, go ahead and click that subscribe button down below. Do leave a comment if you are an author, or if you are a fellow AuthorTube newbie, or anything really. I'd love to hear it. But yes, so wherever you are, whatever time it is, I hope you are well, and I will see you in my next video. Bye. Oh, and I hope everybody has a good Camp NaNoWriMo.